is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the altar again, and this time we are here with Tim Williams of Vision of Disorder, Bloodsimple, and of the new kick-ass project Rollin Coffin. Thanks for being here, man. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's quite an intro. Appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I was winging it too. I'm kind of proud of myself for that one. But it's so awesome to have you here. I was just listening to the new Rollin Coffin singles, Runaway, Sister Misery, and Hate Is Real. Absolutely awesome tracks. Is this like a good representation of like the overall direction you plan to go into with Rollin Coffin, or is there going to be a little bit more?
Well, it might, just like anything else, it may evolve. And I have about 10 other songs in the can that'll probably be recorded in the near future, and there's 2 other songs on the EP that's coming out. So yeah, it should evolve, but those definitely came out pretty great, and they're definitely a pretty good representation of what I hope to achieve with Rollin Coffin.
Is there any plan to like maybe experiment and bring in some other types of styles or other types of sounds before?
Yeah, I would see. It's definitely, like I said, some of the other songs have evolved a little bit more, and it's always interesting to see where they might go, especially that the big difference with Rollin Coffin is I write a lot of the music myself, and then I bring it to my co-producer, and he obviously helps me arrange it and make parts better and stuff like that. But for the most part, where it comes out, just out of the box, it's basically me writing it. So yeah, it can go a number of different ways, but I'd like to keep it organic. I'd like to keep it honest, somewhat dark, something that people can relate to, and also just kind of achieve a sound and feel that I've always kind of wanted to do, but I never really had the time until now to put down on and record.
Was there like a preconceived vision of what you wanted Rollin Coffin to sound like, or was it kind of like a spur of the moment sort of roll of the dice project?
I finally got off my ass and started writing some songs because the other bands kind of got real quiet. So for any reason, that was kind of spur of the moment. The sound kind of evolved. And as I wrote a couple songs, like Runaway was one of the first songs that ever came back. And right then and there, I knew that was what I wanted it to sound like. Whereas I had definitely had like 6 or 7 songs before that I was just demoing, that was still like, I was just like, I don't know if I could put this out. I don't feel good about that. And that went on for a number of years. Like I'd say 10 or 12 songs that I've demoed around with various artists and various lineups and producers, and I never felt quite confident that I wanted to put my name on it. And when I heard Runaway, I'm like, this is it. I got to fucking get up. I got to put this out.
Of course. And I think that I'm really glad that you did put it out, because Runaway is an absolutely amazing song. And I think the way that it moves this album, or these 3 singles, and it makes me excited to see what's coming next. You mentioned that you wrote this music with your producer in a way. Would you almost consider this to be kind of like a solo endeavor and maybe less of a collaborative effort like VOD or Bloodsimple?
Yeah, I would say it's more of a solo venture with my co-writer. He is this Colin Schiller. He's out of Tennessee. I've known him for a really long time. He actually used to tech for VOD way back in the day. And he's a great guy, and he really helped me bring this project. I always say, bring the project out of the basement, because a lot of times it would just stay on my computer and not get out into the real world. And when he finally got a hold of it, he was very fast at returning the stuff, and he really just seemed to really understand what I was going for. And to me, it was undeniable. I'm like, this is the sound I want. I feel comfortable enough to put my name on this and take it to the next level and put it out to, for everybody to hear.
So if people want to get to know who Tim Williams is on a very personal level, on the emotional aspect, you recommend more or less with a Rollin Coffin, being that VOD and Bloodsimple is a collaborative effort between you and your fellow bandmates, right?
Yeah, I would think so, definitely, because this is more of me, whereas the other bands are amazing and loved being a part of them, and whatever's going to happen in the future happens, but this is more of me, where I wrote the songs on guitar and stuff like that, which I didn't do that in any of those other bands, so that's really big. And it also represents, I'm not going to go so far as say where I am now, maybe where I am now as a solo artist, but like I still have tons of aggressive music left in me, and it just, whenever that decides to show itself, I would always be ready to go back to it, you know?
Is there at all with every project you've been involved with, is there at all maybe a similarity or a method behind the madness that applies to everything, or do you keep VOD, Blood Simple, and Rollin Coffin all completely separate forms of expression?
I'd say there might be a common thread, being that I am in all those bands. I'm the lyricist and vocalist. Like, I write all the lyrics, all the vocals for all the projects, and I would say there was somewhat of a common theme, because it's me, it's my voice, it's my personality, it's, the way I look at things, it's the way I interpret and put out music. So I would say there's a common thread throughout all of them. And I was always a little apprehensive to put Rollin Coffin out, because I haven't put anything out in a while, and I was like, some of the fans might not really be into this. But a lot of the people who I spoke to, who were close to the project, were always like, it's not that much of a departure. You think it's like some crazy thing out of left field. It's not that much of a departure from some of the stuff you've done on various records with the other projects. So that always made me feel a little bit more confident.
Being a lyricist, this could apply to every project as well, but being a lyricist, have you always preferred to have music before you put pen to paper, or could a lyrical idea or a concept maybe help dictate the direction of the music?
Lyrical idea and concept could definitely help, but most of the time it's definitely music, and then I write over the music. That's been a lot of the common thread for some of the other projects. And even like with Rollin Coffin, a lot of it just starts with me and my acoustic guitar, and only because that's the easiest thing to grab. And I would just sit down and start playing a couple of riffs, and then I'd start with some sort of vocal line, and then if it connects, I'll know immediately, and then I start, working off of that thread.
And not to mention, being that hardcore music is such a rhythmic-driven sound, nothing could be worse than having the best lyrics ever, and then they're always like one syllable over the arrangement, right?
Yeah, a lot of editing.
Of course. Have you always wanted your music to be open to interpretation, or do you try to get the listener to be just as engaged in the meaning as the music itself?
I love interpret. I want people to get whatever they can get out of my music. Some of the best moments in music to me is when a fan would come and be like, I really related to that song because of this reason, or this happened in my life back in the 90s and you helped me through. And that's the kind of stuff that really resonates with me now and makes me feel like I've accomplished something. I never really cared about the scene, like being a scene star, or how many records I sold and stuff like that. It was more, especially now, it's more that I'm just still creating music, and if any interpretation somebody gets out of it is fine with me.
Do you think that maybe somebody else's interpretation could add like another layer of context or layer of meaning?
Always. You almost, it's almost great when it happens. You know, definitely. There's been a few times on some lyrics on some of my other stuff. I think for sure it happened in Blood Simple. Like, somebody said, "Is that what you say there?" And it wasn't. And what they said, I'm like, "Wow, that's better." And I just changed it.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
In order to get that inspiration, for the energy to pick up your acoustic guitar or to put the pen to paper, do you almost seek out inspiration in a way, or does it just strike when you least expect it?
What it is for somebody like me, it's something that you have to kind of get into not so much a routine, but you got to do it. Like, there's been times my guitars have just been collecting dust in the corner, not really doing too much music, and then I don't know if it's boredom or something strikes me, or for some reason on that day or that night I had the right amount of coffee in me and I picked up the guitar and something happened. Like, for me, I have to physically do it. I have to physically go and grab that guitar off the wall and start playing, and have a piece of paper next to me, and if something happens, be able to write it down, or if something good, I'll grab my phone and kind of just do a very, very quick recording. But for me, it's all about repetition and staying, like, keep honing the craft, keep doing it. And especially with the other bands kind of being quiet these days, it's just, I had to do something. And a lot of it's me in the room. And if I'm not going to do it, no one's going to do it. So I got to get up and do something.
Yep. An artist, the worst enemy of an artist is him or herself.
Yeah, or procrastination. You know, there's a saying, get out of your own way. And I live by that when it comes to music, because I can give you 10,000 excuses why I would not go and pick up that guitar today or yesterday. Or, you know, coincidentally, I've been working on a song probably for the last 4 days and nights. It's going really well. Obviously, it's in demo phase, but that literally just came out of me twanging around on the guitar one night, and a vocal kind of hit me, and I'm like, this is actually pretty good. I need some fucking time. I need to go down and do this. And I did it. So it's, you know, it should be getting sent off tonight. So that's pretty cool.
When it comes to that, actually, like the demo phase and stuff, because whether it is Vision of Disorder or Blood Simple or Rollin Coffin, your music does capture a moment in time. I feel like you know, it represents that energy that you had it once and you can't get it again. But when you're working on a song for a long period of time, and you know, goes through the demo phase and the recording phase, do you find it maybe makes it a little bit more difficult to sort of maintain that moment in a way when you work on something for a long time?
Yeah, definitely. That can happen on any number of stages of the writing and recording. Like, you could go in the studio and do like 10 takes of the same vocal line, and by the fifth take, I'm like, I'm done. You know, I got to move on. I can't fucking do this again. You know, I had a great producer back in the day. He was incredible. I'll say it. Who cares? Garth Richardson. He did the first Blood Simple record. Incredible, renowned producer. But he was like a drill sergeant. He would make me do the vocal over and over and over, and I was just like, I can't fucking keep doing this. And you know, we got to where we had to go, and that record came out incredible. But it was a tough recording experience. So yeah, if you to try and keep that fire and keep that vibe, you got to keep it fresh. You got to hit it quick, and you got to send it off. You know, that's how it works for me.
Well, it's funny too, because whether you are in a band with VOD or Blood Simple, or you know, you're doing Rollin Coffin, or even the song you did on Roadrunner United back in the day, as well. Yeah, that was a great one. But do you almost does everybody need to be in the same headspace or feel the same way emotionally to make the song sound consistent, or is it better if everybody like has their own opinion or their own perspective?
Some of the best VOD songs were written and recorded under complete duality of personalities. Like, one would not exist without the other. The clash together, the fucking egos, the attitudes. No, like, you wouldn't have. That's good when that happens.
Yeah, of course. Now, I do need to ask this because I've asked everybody from Integrity to Agnostic Front, every hardcore band about this. What would you say makes something hardcore? Because I feel like hardcore, it's a style of music, it's a lifestyle. I feel like it's a visionary thing. There's a visual aspect. To you, what makes something hardcore?
It's interesting you said that, because pretty much everything you name would make something hardcore. It's definitely a lifestyle, but for me, it's all attitude. That's it. Bottom line is that if you're going to talk hardcore, I've done hardcore, I still do hardcore, I lived that life. It's all about attitude. There's tons of fucking music out there. Hardcore is all about attitude. That's what it is. Whatever way you're living, whatever you're fucking writing, whatever you can fucking back up, and whatever you can fucking put down on a live fucking stage. It's all about fucking attitude. And I've seen bands that have attitude, I see bands that don't.
Yeah. It's funny because I've always said hardcore is much of an adjective as it is a noun in a way, and it's funny to hear you mention attitude because, you know, I've met Mina Caputo from Life of Agony, Roger Merritt of Agnostic Front, Lou of Sick of It All, and all great people. They all have different personalities and different perspectives and different experiences as well. So is there like a common attitude with all wave of hardcore bands that kind of?
I think there's definitely there's definitely common. I don't want to keep saying the word thread, but there's definitely common. There's a common theme. I'll use theme. There's a common theme within. I would also say you have to be careful because there's a lot of different genres of hardcore within hardcore, but there's definitely a common thing that goes through a certain type of hardcore band that everybody has a piece of that in them. Like, what is it in that personality? We could take it to singers. What is it in that singer's personality that gets him to pick up a mic and stand out on stage and go scream your fucking face off for an hour or 40 minutes? There's something in that person that brings it out.
Well, one of your fellow Long Island peers, Glassjaw, they're labeled as post-hardcore. But to me, when I watched them play everything you ever wanted to know about Silence in entirety, I mean, Daryl Balumbo was just fucking killing it and raging just as hard as anybody from Madball or Sick of It All. So
Sure,
like, does the genre really even matter as if you have that attitude?
No, it doesn't. You can blend the genres. You just said it. Look what Glassjaw did. He's that guy. That kid's an incredible vocalist, and he had a lot of melody. His lyrical content was definitely different than a lot of the bands you just named, but he has that spark. He's got that attitude. He knows how to deliver a vocal. He knows how to write a lyric, and he knows how to fucking do it out on stage. He's one of that guy. That kid is really good. And I don't need to tell anybody that. Everybody knows that.
Of course. It's like water is wet. Like,
yeah.
now coming from the Long Island hardcore scene, because I've always said Long Island is in a way like the sixth borough. I think it's more New York City than Staten Island sometimes in a way.
Right.
But like, did Long Island have in a way like its own? Chris Enriquez, our mutual friend, has told us so many different stories about Long Island. But like in the end, was it just as much part of the hardcore scene as Brooklyn or New York City, or was it sort of like its own fundamentally secular scene in a way?
It was definitely like its own. It's almost like a two-answer question, but it was definitely its own scene. A lot of those bands have a very signature sound. There's a sound to Long Island hardcore that you don't see in New York City hardcore. And I think what happened, especially in my generation, because it's still going through generations and things change. Some years the scenes are smaller, and look at it now. The scenes are enormous right now. They kind of grow and contract and grow and contract. But I think what happened in my thing is Long Island got, at that point, a wave hit. It got really big, so a lot of those bands did start to go into the city more. And what happened a lot is a lot of those city bands started coming out to Long Island more because there was a vibrant scene. But if you break it down, bands like Mind Over Matter, Neglect, you could say Glassjaw, Silent Majority, VOD, like they all had that. They had a sound, like there was a Long Island sound to them that wasn't really out in other parts of the city or even the world for that matter. That's the way I've always seen it. There's a certain sound, it's just different.
Yeah, if you talk to the real hardcore nerd, I think they could listen to even just the instrumental hardcore song and be able to tell, okay, that hardcore band's from Jersey, that hardcore band's from Brooklyn, that's West Coast hardcore right there.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that person would be more well versed than myself.
Yeah, of course. And you're right. Like hardcore has always had like its variations. Like Leeway just played last night, and they always had their own melodic twist to it as well. Like, when it came to the evolution of hardcore, was that always intentional, or did it just kind of sort of happen that way?
Well, I can speak for myself. It wasn't intentional. It just kind of went. Like VOD started off one way and evolved into not so much a whole different thing, but the band sound, as the instrumental people grow and the musicians grow and the personalities grow, the band stays together long enough. The sound of the music's going to change because it's only a reflection of the personalities that are playing the music.
Of course. Absolutely. Now, going back to the overall songwriting process, because again, with the hardcore nature, you bring in the aggression, you bring in the rage, whether I'm listening to For the Bleeders or The Curse to Remain Cursed or Imprint, like there's always that intensity behind it. Obviously, it's very cathartic, but when you are writing music about, the horrors of the world and, all the bullshit in life and, you're using that aggression as, your armature for creativity, does it make it just as deteriorating as it could be cathartic when darkness is sort of like something you use to create?
Yeah, it could definitely get to you, and it's gotten to me. And again, when you're in the album cycle and you're writing songs like that, and there'd be times that we'd be writing a couple of songs a month, maybe even more, and I'm writing these lyrics every single day and digesting this stuff and editing it and changing it. Yeah, it kind of seeps into you. I remember specifically on The Curse Remain Cursed, I was living in Brooklyn at the time, had a small apartment, and we were writing that record, and we were getting towards the end of it, so we had been in it for a while, writing and stuff like that. I started researching and writing the lyrics to the Seventh Circle song, and I was doing it for a couple of days, and I was doing all this reading on the internet about the lyrical, kind of the inspiration I was looking for that song. And I remember after a couple of days, I could not. I started to have like really weird dreams, and I was not freaking feeling well because the song, it definitely, at least at that moment, had gotten to me in a weird way. So yeah. It could definitely affect you. Because you're in it. You're in it. If you're really in the cycle and you're in the music and you're taking it seriously and you're really working hard on it, it's in you now. It's not, for me, this is part of my life. This is not like something I take lightly, and it's not I don't just put words on paper just to finish another song, you know?
Of course. But how do you know when you're finished with a song?
Well, depends what stage you want to know. But like when I'm at this point, basically, the way I write now is, the song has a certain amount of parts to it, gets to a certain length, and it just kind of feels like it's all starting to come together and and to a point where it's almost being ready to be wrapped up. That's when I'll know, unless I got to go back and, a lot of times and sometimes I'll be singing right into the mix. It's not done until that song is like printed.
And does collaborating with different musicians, because correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the drummer of Evanescence even play with Bloodsimple for like a tour or something like that?
Yeah. Will Hunt, great guy.
So like playing with different musicians of different styles, does that allow you to discover new things about your own voice as well?
Definitely. Just like anything else. Yeah, it's always like you brought up the Army of the Sun song, the Roadrunner United song. That was, like I told you, that was a really cool experience because I got to kind of work over Rob Flynn's crazy stuff, and he's like a super established musician that I've known forever, and obviously I respect his longevity in the scene and stuff, and to sing over his stuff, it's almost like a breath of fresh air. It's just a whole different feel, and you could start trying different voices and trying different lyrics and stuff like that, and I think it's instrumental in the growth of a singer or a musician, is to definitely mix it up. And I see just the way we are now, the way life is and how accessible everything is, you see people collaborating all the time,
I love it too. And the best collaborations are the ones that usually sound horrible on paper too.
Yeah. Well, I feel I'm not really a big fan of the all-star lineup. I like to see a little more grassroots, a little more like something unpredictable happen. That kind of would spark my interest more than some like 5 super famous musicians and like a fucking actor.
Well, have you ever
in the same band?
Have you ever listened to Kill or Be Killed?
Yeah, definitely. That's Troy, right?
Troy from Mastodon, Max Cavalera, and Greg Puciato from Dillinger Escape Plan, and the drummer of Convergent Mutoid Man. I mean, on paper, that sounds horrible, but like you listen to that music, it's incredible.
Well, that's those guys, all those musicians you just named. Again, I don't have to tell anybody. They're all cream of the crop, incredible at what they do, and I wouldn't really expect anything less. That's really a great lineup. And Troy, I've known for a lot of years. One of the coolest. You've been in this business for so long. You meet all sorts of fucking people. He is one that goes down in my book as one of the most humble, cool guys out there.
Definitely. And, everybody I would say the 2 people where everybody knows each other are metalheads or, metal and hardcore kids and senior citizens. Those are the 2 groups of people where everybody knows each other. Yep. And the final question I wanted to talk about is when you play live, because, going back to, the hardcore aesthetic and the attitude, there's an art to being a hardcore frontman. And, the live shows where you kind of prove if you're really hardcore or not. Is that something that you ultimately have to practice or rehearse, the physicalities of it and the energy that you portray?
I wouldn't say it's so much something you consciously practice. It's more something that you build up over time. Like, people always ask me, how do you fucking scream like that for so fucking long? And it's usually people who may be a little bit out of the scene that don't really understand it. And my answer is always, it's like a bicep. You got to fucking work it. You got to work it out. If you don't work it out, it goes out of shape. You might have some problems, And it's the same as fronting a hardcore band or a metal band. It's stamina. And it's also for me, it was like a journey. I was like a little kid when I started. I think I was like 17, and then I was on tour when I was like fucking 20. And it's like, I'm on tour with like heavyweights like Sick of It All on my first European tour in Europe with Sick of It All. Like, you're around that stuff every day. If you pay attention, you pick up on things. It seeps into you, and you take things from it. You might not take it with you, and it might not resurface till like 5 years down the road. But it, to be like what I've done with my career and how I used to work the stage and stuff like that, it's all stamina, and it's all stuff that I've worked at. Like it's hard work. I've been doing it for 20 something years now, and it's just something that you build up throughout a lifetime of doing it.
Is there at all a similar energy between playing live and songwriting, or are they two separate entities altogether?
The easy answer would be they're completely separate entities. Like, if you just asked me that question, and the first thing I say to myself, if I was going to try and break it down easily, like writing music and recording it is like peas and carrots, and playing live is like the fucking dessert. The hard work is already fucking done. You're out on stage. If you hit it right, half the kids already know the damn lyrics to all the songs. You have a great fucking sound, man. You're on tour playing the same fucking songs every goddamn night. There's no way you're not going to get good at it.
Of course. Is there anything remotely creative about playing live, though? Because in the end, you are just replicating.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And I would say, for me, a big change in my career, a live musician career, was when it finally clicked to me that we can never play a show again without our own front of house guy. Because a front of house guy, he is essentially the next member of the band.
Of course.
He's out there on tour with you, and he's starting to turn all those knobs. He knows, like, my voice. He knows if I'm having a good night or a hard night. He knows what screams to punch, or I need side fill. Like, that, to me, is an essential part of being out there.
Absolutely. And 100%. I've always said that the front of house sound guy, when, some bands, they like to take the bow at the end of the stage, they should always bring the front of house sound guy up there with them.
Yeah, no, you could do a lot with a sound guy, and there's a lot of things I would try out on the road once me and him got comfortable. Or, there's been amazing front of house guys, and then there's been house guys that have been good, but I've had a couple that would just understood me so well that it was just, they just made my performance that much better, because I can hear it, and I can hear how my voice is sounding, and I hear what the band's feeling like, and I could see the faces out there in the crowd, and I could feel it in my body that I'm holding everything correct, and I'm fucking killing it. And a lot of that has to do with the front of house.
100%. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time, for such an awesome conversation. Just with these new Rollin Coffin singles, Runaway, Sister Misery, and Hate Is Real, is there just anything else you would like to promote in terms of live shows? Could we be expecting any gigs? And when could we be expecting maybe a full-length Rollin Coffin album?
Well, the big news that I definitely would like to let everybody know, it's finally happening. April 7th on Static Era Records, our vinyl EP is coming out. There'll be 2 more brand new songs on it. It'll be on every major platform out there digitally. There'll be vinyl available, and we're also putting out CDs. So if anybody wants to pick these up, April 7th, start putting your antenna up and go get them, because we're really, really excited about it. It's been a while. We got a couple of things backtracked us, but it's finally happening April 7th, and we're definitely looking to probably do some shows in the summer. Where, I don't know.
You better play some in New York City.
Yeah, well, that's a given.
Yeah, of course. But thank you so much, everybody. Tim Williams, Vision of Disorder, Bloodsimple, and Rollin Coffin. New stuff coming April 7th, but in the meantime, check out the new singles Runaway, Sister Misery, and Hate Is Real. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.